Welcome back. Yes, indeed. Those gentlemen joining us next. Honorable Tese Ugbo, member representing Kwande Ushongo Benue Federal Constituency. He's a member of the APC in the House. And then we also do have Honorable Ogene Ima Ego, who is a member of the 8th and 9th Assembly, and at the moment is a member of the ECOWAS Parliament. Gentlemen, good morning. Thank you for coming on today.
Thank you. Honored to be around.
Well, we did hear some very disappointing and shocking statements from Mr. Adeosun of Moment, how, what, $71 of those crude that we get on the byproduct, if I fully can give us $2,000. I think, Mr. President, probably his advisors have got to bring that to his attention. They need to ask questions. What's been happening all this while? It means perhaps that industry has been doing some things that they need to answer for. But gentlemen, talking about some of these policies, if we could even just leverage on this particular focus on this oil and gas sector. Let me start with you, Honorable Ego, about the policies that the government has put in place so far and the kind of impact that it is having on Nigerians. What is your impression of it?
Well, on the oil sector, the major policies that this present government have carried out is on the issue of removal of price subsidy, oil subsidy. Of course, it's made the price of petroleum products to be very high, and it's brought a lot of, sufferings to Nigeria as it is. But my advice to Nigeria is that let us be patient, because this fuel subsidy have really brought us back. If you look at a recent statement by NNPC, they claim that even just in the last 1 month, over 400 billion naira have been saved for the first subsidy. And the MD of NNPC also said that over 6.something trillion naira is spent on first subsidy annually. Now, if these monies are saved and it goes into the federation account, the states have their own, local government have their own, federal government have their own, you see that this money will turn the economy around. No state will be able to complain again that they don't have money to pay workers' salary, no money to promote workers, to increase salary, and no money to employ new people, because almost every state will get more than double what they have been receiving before. Okay. And then in terms of infrastructure, roads that are so bad that damages vehicles and lead to the high cost of transportation, there will not be enough money to fix them. So, yes, they're suffering right now, which is unfortunate, but I'm sure that within a short while, in 6 months, I'm sure the result will be very clear. And at that time, everybody can now hold his local government chairman, his governor responsible.
Okay, well, in terms of, if we could just follow up with what Mr. Adeosun did say about the question I asked him about the byproducts. Yeah. The House had several committees in the 8th and 9th, probably the 10th of May. Subcommittees, committees, or downstream, or upstream. And here we are, his revelation about the crude oil, the byproduct of crude that we export. Did the House ever ask questions about some of these things? How come nothing? We don't seem to benefit from that.
It's a very technical issue, and it is very good hearing from the chairman of major marketers that we can make $2 million US, 2,000 US dollars from a barrel instead of just the $71 we're selling the barrel. It's a very good information, and I hope that the president will work on it, and I hope that the 10th Assembly, I'm happy our colleagues who took over from us are here. I hope they will look at it, because if that is possible, then we must make all efforts to see that the barrels of oil we are exporting, we get the benefit from it. And then maybe do more refining here so that the byproducts come out. It shows that we are losing so much money. So much money is being lost.
So what did the 8th and 9th Assembly do about that? Did they ask questions on this?
Well, I'm not sure we had this information. We had the upstream and downstream committees, but I'm not very sure that this information was in the National Assembly.
Okay.
But as it is, of course, I'm still living with my colleagues here very well. We'll let them know that is an area.
Incidentally, Honorable Boy is here. Yes. He's a member of the 10th, yes. So he's got that information firsthand. Yeah. Is it something you want to leverage on?
Well, I think this information has been out there in the sector. I think the experts have always known that Nigeria can make a lot more from our crude oil in Nigeria, but because it's an economic decision, it's a decision that requires investments from private sector investment and all that. The government has not been too pushy on insisting on building local refineries and all that. But Dangote has come on stream. And obviously he's taking advantage of all the byproducts, all the derivables from this. So he's doing the petrochemicals, he's doing aviation fuel and all that, which are all byproducts of his crude oil refining. So I think with his coming on stream and with the new direction we have on revamping the old refineries, the 4 old refineries we've had in the country, I think we're on the right track towards closing that gap and achieving some results in that regard.
You know, from what Honorable said there about not having known that this kind of things are available to the country, and what you're saying about these out there, it's been out there, one would wonder, what else has Nigeria lost to maybe negligence from its leadership? Let's look at the matter of value addition to all our persons. Nigeria is blessed with all manner of natural resources, not just petrol. We have gold in certain parts of this country. We have precious stones. We have all manner across the country, even agricultural products that we have. But value addition is not there. So in terms of policy, what should or what would the National Assembly be thinking about? How are they going to ensure that it's not just about where we have grown agriculture, we have grown 500 acres of rice? Value, what value is Nigeria pulling from that? Nigeria, we have gold in Cross River, we have gold in Benue, gold in Niger, in Zamfara. What values can Nigeria draw from this? Can we get those mining these products to even begin to process in country?
Yeah, we failed to tap our natural resources properly. The mining sector is a gold mine just waiting to be tapped. We've discovered gold in my constituency in Benue, but there's very little mining going, just artisanal mining going on. We have to get to a point where we can mine our natural resources, process them locally, and that does several things for our economy. It creates jobs for the economy, it creates technology transfer, so we get more proficient and more professional in exploring these resources. Graduates coming out from school get to explore their skills and their talents in the mining sector and other spaces of national development. And I'm sure once we insist on investment in processing our resources here before export, we'll definitely tap more value into it. I'll give you a simple example about cocoa in Africa. Africa exports the highest amount of cocoa to the international market. And we have this cliche about we get so little from our cocoa exports, they process the chocolate and they sell back to us and making billions and billions of dollars when Africa makes so little from cocoa. But we didn't invent chocolate. So what it means is that if the international market decides that they no longer want to consume chocolates, then our cocoa here becomes useless. It becomes just our product. What are we doing with our own materials here? We're exporting raw material, but not processing it. So if the international community decides that they're not going to buy cocoa from Africa or they find another alternative to creating chocolate, then what do we do with cocoa? So we always put the blame on the international market, doing this, exploiting Africa, exploiting Nigeria, but what have we done? How well have we looked inwards to try to create value from the natural and God-given resources that we have in agriculture, in oil, in solid minerals, and so many other aspects of our potentials that we're blessed with in Africa. And I think Africa is moving towards that direction. The new government has shown some political will, or a lot of political will to move the needle and to push things in the right direction so that we can really begin to tap from the benefits that we can derive from this.
Honorable, you're a member of the African Parliament. Yeah. ECOWAS Parliament. You've left the 8th and 9th Assembly and the ECOWAS Parliament. One would begin to say, okay, what can be done? We have the African Free Trade Agreement that Nigeria is supposed to lead, so to speak, but we're missing out a great deal because we just want to harvest and send out. We just want to pick up and send out. But in homegrown processing and value addition, can't that be sort of pushed forward in this time?
Yes, of course, because we lose it a lot. And that's why you see that Africans are very poor. West Africa, we're very poor. Nigeria, the same thing. like you talked about cocoa, you know, the amount we sell cocoa, if we really process it here and export it, we'll be making billions from it. And I think it's a thing that this new government needs to pursue because it will need the executive arm to work on it. Look at palm oil, for instance. You know, palm oil, we are the biggest producer, but the Malaysians came, took our palm seed, and today they are the highest producer. But not only that, they turn it into different things. So a ton of palm oil, for instance, they can make even 10 times more money on it than we are making on our own. So many products that are like that. Until the government sets up a committee to look at all and see how can we manufacture this. Maybe we can, CBN can help Nigerian businessmen, you know, get investors from abroad to do all this. But
so, sorry, if I may come in here, I mean, both of you are legislators. So one would think that you could, or you could have, since you've moved on, and you are there now. Would you be thinking, or should the legislators be thinking about how to attract investors to their constituencies instead of looking at how to move constituency projects to their constituencies? Shouldn't that be something that you can be looking towards? So you're making contacts out there because of where you are, and you're looking at how the legislature can work to give good environment, an investment environment for the investors to invest in your constituencies. Shouldn't that be something we'll be looking at? Sorry,
let me come in. In terms of the constituency, attractive projects or constituencies, everybody needs development. And if your areas are not developed, like mine, a lot of bad roads, of course, you have to cry National Assembly, you want it to come. But constituency projects are fixed. They are fixed amount, which should be invested in all the constituency, depending upon the number of members that you have. So, like Lagos that has 24 members, maybe constituency projects that come to each constituency is less than 50 million.
I'm not saying you should jettison constituency projects. I'm saying that shouldn't this be more of a priority?
Of course.
How you, using your position, can attract investors to your constituency.
Yeah, work hand in hand with the executive arm of government. Because don't forget, we are lawmakers. When you make the laws, it is the executive arm of government that executes these laws. So, like my colleague said, there's gold in this constituency. It's a matter of also putting pressure on the executive arm of government so that, you know, they can even have an investment trip abroad to attract investors. But what the government needs to do is to give state governments more authority on the things they have. For instance, if you have gold, you have any type of mineral, they should give them a better return on it. Exploit your the minerals that are in your area, and then pay tax to the federal government. But right now, as it is with oil, everything goes to the federal government. Because of that, state governors are not encouraged to invest. If you look at Zafara and Co., you will find out that the government is not really too interested. They rather collaborate with those who are illegal miners. Because if they now find them and then do proper investment, they make a lot of money for Nigeria. The money is not going to what will come to their state. It will be very little. The whole money is going to federation account. So we need to look at how funds are shared from what you get from various areas.
So, Honorable Luba, I mean, what's going on with the gold in your constituency? Could that be part of the hidden reasons why there are clashes sometimes?
Yeah, we suspect that the gold has attracted a lot more banditry in my constituency. You know, Benue has faced this problem of banditry, of attacks, herdsmen, what have you. But there's been a recent upsurge in some of these disturbances, especially in my constituency. My constituency boundaries, you know, Cameroon. A boundaries Cross River, a boundaries Taraba. So we were surrounded by...
I understand there's some gold in parts of Cross River as well.
There's some gold. So it's the same belt. You know, it's the same belt that stretches down from Cross River, the Obudu Mountains, and all that whole stretch. So there's been gold discovered in that constituency. And then it has led to a lot more banditry, a lot more foreign invaders that we've observed recently coming in and setting up camp in the constituency.
They're setting up camp?
Yes, they're setting up camp. The Chinese are in there. You know, we're seeing foreign Fulani people, Hausa, the Yorubas and all that. Investors, you know, in their own right, you know, have come in there, setting up camp. We're hearing of helicopters landing, you know, on the mountains and flying, taking off and all that. And we're wondering what is really going on. There's a lot of exploration going on. Apart from just gold, there's lithium in that constituency. So what we've done, what I have done since I got elected, was to do an assessment of the constituency and what we have, what are the natural resources, what are the, the derivables we can tap from this constituency, what are the infrastructure needs that need to be put in place, what kind of roads can we create that lead to these mining sites so that proper investments can come in. The roads are really bad. Some of the mines some of the gold sites are really up the mountain. They're in the really interior areas of the constituency. So there needs to be infrastructure that create access roads to where these mining sites are. There needs to be a Nigeria-Cameroon engagement so that we can open up the international boundary with Cameroon. It's a gazetted boundary already. It has been approved, but it has been lying fallow for a very long time. So we need to develop this boundary, this border with Cameroon. We need to set up a border post. We need to set up an international market on this border and then create the access roads that lead to the international border so that trade can improve between Nigeria and Cameroon through Benue State. It's the shortest route to Yaoundé, and then to East Africa. So if we opened up the Benue-Cameroon international border, set up an international market, create access roads to the places where mining activities can go on properly and trucks can move in and mine lithium and mine gold and a lot of other natural resources we have there. I think it just takes a little bit of innovation and political will to get the government.
Just mine or processing be part of it?
Yeah, well, I was, as a private business person, I was in the battery sector. I'm an environmental consultant, so I've been involved in battery production and all that. So I know what lithium is. I was in Germany recently visiting lithium production plants. So we've put in place some mechanism to bring in investors to set up a lithium plant in our constituency, hopefully in the next few years, as time will permit, or as we can attract this investment as soon as possible.
This country is indeed blessed. Yeah. Several resources everywhere, everywhere you turn.
The country is indeed blessed, everywhere. But the federal government needs to encourage states to exploit resources in the area and pay tax to the center.
One of those states, let's go to Lagos now, and they've got questions for you both. Go ahead, guys.
Yes, thank you, Chamberlain. I'm just, also still concerned about the fuel subsidy matter, following up from Chamberlain's initial question about the disclosure by the NNPCL that it has been funding to make fuel subsidy cheap, and fuel subsidy has not been paid since 2016. So I'm wondering if we should be content with that disclosure and just move on. Besides that, there is also a report about vessels lying on the sea due to unremitted taxes from about 2010 to 2019, and countries are supposed to purchase that are avoiding Nigeria. I'm bringing that to you now, Honorable Teze, from the Ninth Assembly. Was the Ninth Assembly aware of this, and should we be asking questions for this administration to probe such matters?
Some of those issues have just come to light. For instance, it's under this 10th Assembly that the issues of vessels who have not paid tax came up. And one wonders, why have they not been paid tax? Why have they not been followed up? But I'm aware that government is already working on it to reconcile the tax, outstanding tax, so that, the fuel we produce can be lifted. I hope that once this is solved, it will be a continuous thing, because if we produce oil here and you cannot lift the oil, of course, no income can come in, and then we'll not have money to run our budget. So I think that that issue is already being worked on. As for NNPC saying they've not paid any subsidies in 2016, well, this news they are coming up is shocking. Because if they have not, how come trillions of naira is being siphoned away every year into the coffers of those they claim are importing their fuel? Because what we can see now is that it's just a month plus, we say 400 billion naira, which of course the federation account is going to benefit from. So if those monies have not been paid ever since, then there will need to be a probe. Government need to set up a probe. Well, I'm sure National Assembly will be hearing, set up committee to probe it so that they can know what has been happening to our money, who have been receiving it, and why you say that in 2016 it has not been, you have not been paid, whereas in 2016, government have been reporting that the fuel subsidy have been consuming more money than Nigeria is spending on capital projects. So these are very serious issues that are coming up now, and obviously we know they'll be taken up.
Yeah, indeed. Honorable, but I'd like you to also weigh in on the matter and specifically tell us what the position of the 10th Assembly would be.
Well, the 10th Assembly has just started its work. We have not delved into some of the issues that have to do with tax collections and revenue streams and all that. Most members are eager to move motions on issues that affect their constituencies directly. Most of us are interested in making an impact at home in our constituencies and our people. But the government has shown interest in reforming the tax regime in terms of the tax policies. We've heard of proposals for merger of the Federal Inland Revenue, the customs, so that we can bring our revenue collection, our tax system under one umbrella, so we can know who is doing what and what is happening as regard to revenue collection, taxes, and things like that. With the government we have in place and the kind of moves that we've seen so far, the kind of proposals and the policy directions that are being put in place, I think that it's only a matter of time before we correct some of these abnormalities that have gone on in Nigeria for far too long.
Yeah, staying with you, Honorable Ugbo, and staying with the matter of taxes, looking at the manufacturing sector, for instance, there are 60 different taxes that they have had to pay, they're looking to this administration for its commitment that those taxes will be reviewed. If we were to, significantly shore up gross domestic product, we'll have to look at those taxes. What would be the proposition of the 10th Assembly, if 15-year moratorium can be given to international oil companies and, the wherewithal is given to, those foreign and bigger investors? Shouldn't we begin to look at, local investors as well, the manufacturing sector, to enable them to thrive?
Yeah, I think it's important to have a lot more manufacturing activities going on. It's important to have a lot more manufacturing companies going on, both for local consumption and for export, than to squeeze the few industries we have in the country for taxes. So having 60+ taxes just to try to get as much as possible from these companies might not be too good and hasn't been too good for our industrialization in the country. What we need to do is to lower taxes as much as possible, create ease of doing business so that more industries come to the country, create opportunities for investments to thrive in the country, create infrastructure to the point where investments can go, mining can go on, our natural resources can be explored, markets can expand, agriculture can expand. Once we create the necessary infrastructure to expand the industrial base of the country, expand the trade and commercial base of the country, then there'll be no need to tax the little companies we have so much and extract, almost like taxing them to death. We need to let them breathe. They're creating jobs for the country. They're creating, adding to our GDP and all that. So it's important that we look at these issues very well. And I'm sure the 10th Assembly, made up of very vibrant legislatures this time around, will be interested in looking at some of these issues and putting some kind of policy direction on how the government of President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu can move forward in this direction and help to ensure that companies want to come to Nigeria and operate and not want to leave the country as it has been in the past for so long.
It seems the president has popularized a completely new clause now, let the poor breathe, and it seems that the word is taking a completely different life, in recent time, Honorable Ugbo. But let me come to you, Honorable Ego, Ogene Ego. I want to. My question is a little difficult, but perhaps maybe tricky, but by way of just challenging our patriotism. I'm looking at the Constitution right now, and it starts, "We, the people of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, having firmly and solemnly resolved to live in unity and harmony as one indivisible and indissoluble sovereign nation under God, dedicated to the promotion of inter-African solidarity," and all of that. It now says, "to provide for a constitution for the purpose of promoting the good government and welfare of all persons in our country on the principles of freedom, equality, and justice, for the purpose of consolidating the unity of our people." Do you think all Nigerians agree with this? I ask that question in the light of the level of patriotism or a lack of it in our country today. From what you see, especially starting with the National Assembly, where we have the largest number of people who gather from time to time from the various parts of the country. Do you think there is a mutual understanding of the meaning of patriotism and not just of segmented interests when we gather in the National Assembly?
Yes, I think there's an enormous amount of patriotism in the House. For instance, there are times we debate some very issues that affect the nation and not part of the country. And then while everybody wants to bring the interests of his area in, at the end of the day, we come to a consensus. So, you know, National Assembly is a place where patriotism reigns. But on the country generally, you find out that, you know, when a country is not able to take good care of its citizens, patriotism would be less. You know, for instance, if you're an American or British, you're very proud to be because you know that if there are issues that affect you, even outside the country, your country will come to your aid.
Well, Honourable, just 1 second on that particular matter, if you can hear me. Let me ask Honourable Egbo the same question, but perhaps in a different light. Because the issue for me, Honourable Tessa, is that as Honourable Ogane is saying right now, the members of the National Assembly seem to have a consensus. But when it comes to the rest of the country, people seem to have those segmented interests, those interests of religion, ethnicity, and all those things, and anything that comes from government seems to be taken with a pinch of salt by the people. So in that light, do you think we all have a mutual understanding and agreement about the meaning of patriotism and faithfulness to the fatherland as opposed to our pecuniary interests?
Well, you know, just like my senior colleague mentioned, when there are too many people chasing too few resources, then there's a tendency for patriotism to go down because everybody needs to survive. So it becomes a matter of survival first before patriotism. If there were systems in place where the average citizen knows that his life is protected, he knows that his security is guaranteed, he knows that he has social cover, he knows that education is protected, he knows that he can find a job and feed himself every single day. He knows he can walk out, into the community and find something to do and feed himself. Then there's no need for the lack of patriotism. Patriotism improves. And of course, when your country does things that improves your lives, when your country takes taxes from you and utilizes those taxes in a way that you can see and is transparent and is justifiable and equitable, then the patriotism goes up. The National Assembly has a full dose of patriots. I don't think there's anybody who has been president or governor or a member of the National Assembly in this country who does not wish well for Nigeria, because we're all part of this system. We all want this country to work and to survive, So we're highly patriotic. We're looking out for our individual interests as it relates to our communities and our constituencies. But of course, we're also looking at the national interest and how we can harmonize all our interests into one big basket and then build this national cake, build the economy of this country. It's far too small. And as long as it remains the way it is, as long as Nigeria keeps to grow at the little percentages that will grow every year, to take us the next 100 years to industrialize and catch up with the industrial community. So I think there needs to be a lot more to be done. The National Orientation Agency needs to do a lot more. The NYSC needs to be reformed in a way that begins to inculcate this patriotism in our youths so that as they get older, there's a new vision for them, there's a new dynamism in the way they think. Maybe we need to change our national anthem. We need to do things that inspire people more in this country, and I hope it's just a matter of time before we get it right.
It would be good to see you take that zeal and zest to the National Assembly, such that perhaps that coming through may just give Nigerians some sort of, what they're looking for. It's your first time in the House anyway, so how's it feeling so far for you?
Well, it feels good. It's a learning process for most of us. We're mostly first-time members, but we're learning very fast. The old members in the House are setting a good direction for us. You know, everybody's eager to contribute, eager to say something, eager to be heard, because we want to make an impact in our communities. Where a lot of young members this time around, so everybody's vibrant and everybody's hoping to achieve a lot. You know, there's a lot of expectations on us, and I think we're going to have a good 10th Assembly.
Okay, we'll look forward to that. Honourable Tessa Ugbo is a member representing Kwande Ushongo Benue Federal Constituency, is a member of the APC. Honourable Ogene Ima Ego is was a member of the 8th and 9th Assembly. He is currently a member of ECOWAS Parliament. Gentlemen, thank you for coming on today, and all the best to both of you.
Thank you very much.
Glad to be around. Thank you very much.
Okay, we'll have some messages. This one comes from Lemmy. He talks about fuel subsidy removal. He says, we've argued back and forth on the fuel subsidy removal subject matter. No one seems to know what the government is doing. One fundamental thing that must be done is revamping and refurbishing our 4 refineries for production purposes. If nothing is done in this direction, the poor will continue to suffer untold hardships and become poorer than ever.
Okay, this is the one solution to criminal activities from Ayodeji Ayodele, and he says the problem in Ebonyi and our northeast can be resolved very easily. Intelligence operations. DSS and military intelligence should be embedded massively in the regions to identify the masterminds and drivers. Information gathering should rely heavily on locals who know the corners and who's who. Thereafter, appropriate operatives should pick them up like fish out of water. If DSS is understaffed, they should recruit. And if, rogue elements cannot be more powerful than the state. A criminal is a criminal. They should pay the price and do the time. Ayodeji Ayodele.
All right, so there you go. That is the show today. We do thank you all for watching. We'll see you again next time. I'm Chamberlain, so goodbye.
I'm Neo Taigbe. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Just a reminder, let the poor breathe. Thank you for watching. I am Bukola Koka.
Especially my compatriot in the southeast. Let them live. Have a wonderful day. I'm Ayo Makinde.